Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name's Megan, and I'm a member of the UCSB Com Alumni Council. For those of you that have not attended our virtual career series before, welcome. Those of you that have, thank you for coming back. Every month throughout the school year, we like to highlight a alumni to give you kind of a viewpoint into their day to day, their job, how they got there, their time at UCSB, really, however you want to use this period of time. Tonight, we are happy to welcome Mike. Mike will go through his presentation and let you ask questions throughout. You're free to put them in the chat or to speak on the screen. If you are interested, thank you. We have our upcoming career series in February, March, and April. We will be sending out invitations for all of those. Are also located on the COM website. Additionally, I'd just like to highlight that this year on April 26th, we have our annual COM Career Day. It's always a big event. Hundreds of students, nearly 100 different alumni. So keep an eye out for information about that event. It should be coming within the next couple months. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mike.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan. And thanks, Ron, and everyone else for really giving me the opportunity to come back and give back here. It's great to be. I just became a member of the council here, and so hopefully many of you who are attending today or maybe watching this on demand, in the near future, when you get this opportunity, hopefully earlier than I chose to, definitely take the opportunity to give back to what was, such a great time, great, time in my life too, being at UCSB. So I'm excited to come back here and share a little. I was just telling Ron before I think some of you jumped on is that, I was excited really for all of you, but in reality, I kind of took a beat and, really thought that after looking kind of over my shoulder to build this presentation, it was really, I found it really exciting and energizing for me to kind of look back, take a moment to look back and see kind of, how I got here. And, I spent a lot of my time looking forward, thinking about what's the new plan going to be for, the business plan for the upcoming year? What's what are my personal goals going forward? All those kind of things. So it is always interesting. Take a beat, look in the rearview mirror, look over your shoulder, see what you accomplished, and then use that and move forward. But excited to be here. So Mike Mahoney, I am, looking to share a little bit about what my current role is and where I am in my career. And currently today, I'm head of our technology alliances marketing at a company called Tanium. So for anybody who doesn't know Tanium, we are a cybersecurity company. And so what that means is Tanium is it's a private company, just over 2,000 employees, pre-IPO, so not public. And we really focus on the endpoint management lifecycle. So what does that mean? So really, we call it the autonomous endpoint management lifecycle. It's really about helping organizations, so anywhere from large companies all the way across to the Defense Department and the federal government, state and local governments, and education organizations globally. And what we help them do is secure their IT environment. As many of you know, there's a lot of bad actors out there looking to attack us in one way or the other, get a hold of our accounts, get entry through your laptop, get entry through servers. Tanium helps reduce that risk. And so the simple story with Tanium is, if you can't, so it's really about visibility, control, and remediation. So what that means is if we can't see your your laptop on the network, we can't control it. If you can't control it, you can't protect it. So all of you are sitting on a laptop right now. If UCSB can't tell you that or can't identify that laptop on their network, and they can't identify if you're running the latest patch from Microsoft Windows or from Apple's OS, they could be putting themselves at risk. So that's what Tanium does in a nutshell. So again, happy to be here. Now let's talk a little bit about technology alliances marketing. So what do I do? What's my role? Effectively, what I am is the CMO of a very strategic technology partnership. And when we talk about technology partnerships, you talk about companies such as Tanium, but also with technology partners such as ServiceNow. It's a very large global organization. Many of you will recognize the other logos on the screen, such as Microsoft, AWS, and Google. So we partner with all of these. Now, again, by the time we get done with this, I want to make sure you understand what technology partnerships are and why I take my time to help market these. So what does that mean? Ultimately, what it means is we're taking one technology, which is Tanium's. Tanium is a world-class cybersecurity platform, and we are joining that up with someone else's technology. So it's really two technologies pulled together. Now, when we do that, ultimately, we get magic. And I like to say we get magic because ultimately what that means is we're helping customers get a lot more value. And they get more value when they bring these two technologies together and they get better outcomes. Now, again, what does that really mean? Let me provide a simple example here. So technology partnerships are really about, as I said, two partners coming together. So Ford, everybody recognizes the logo on the left. Hopefully everybody recognizes the logo on the right. Now, just for a second now, think about what technology would these two companies be pulling together. I can tell you're all going to know it once I show it, but just think for a moment, what could these two be bringing together that would allow you to have a better experience in something that you're doing? One company is building cars, you drive it down the road. The other company is building applications, or building computers and all of that. So this is an example though. And so anybody recognize what's on the screen here? So these are two technologies coming together. Ford has a great car, but Apple has a great interface, which is called CarPlay. And so they recognize the fact that we want to have a very consumer-like experience with the thing that we all have in our hand most of the day inside the vehicle. Let's take that experience, let's take it from your everyday life, and let's actually bring that into the car. So literally, this is the example of two technologies coming together, but ultimately, you as the consumer, you as the customer are getting more value from that, right? Because before Apple was integrated into the car, so again, keep in mind, this is what a technology integration is. They actually have to make these two things work together. And that's all they're doing is they're making an integration so that you can now take that same interface that you have on your mobile phone and allow that to show up on the screen in your vehicle. When I'm working with Tanium and I'm working with ServiceNow, it's a very same concept. We have to make these two things work together and make it so that the customers of both our organizations, are getting value. So I'm not going to go through in detail why this is valuable to Ford, but as a little homework assignment, is for those thinking about potentially a career in marketing, a career in technology marketing. Don't just look at this as, as most of us would do. And I talked to my daughter. I'll tell you a little bit about her a little bit later. But, there's a technology out there. Many of us drive a car and we just accept it. Like, hey, this is what shows up. This is how I change my music. This is how I get text in the car. But think about, why is that important to Ford? Why is that valuable to Apple? And most importantly, why is that valuable to you as a consumer? You are the customer. So again, getting back to Tanium and ServiceNow, the two companies that I work very closely with all day long, the most important thing here is that we're actually bringing value. So going back to this slide here, together, this has to generate more value and create better outcomes for the customer at the end of the day. And so I spent a lot of time thinking through that. Now, what do I do all day long? I think Megan mentioned that earlier, is that I'm here to share a little bit about what this means and what I do all day long. And so this is a simple way to look at sort of a product marketing framework, if you will. There's sort of, some of you may have already heard about the 4 Ps of marketing. They may look slightly different than this, but this is a bit more of a modern approach to it. So the first thing that I focus on is that we've got to have a pitch. And the pitch is all about developing really what we call the message map. And within that message map, This is going to outline what the biggest challenges are. Ford has a challenge. Apple has a challenge. Tanium has a challenge. ServiceNow has a challenge. The customers of these organizations have a challenge. Again, I'm trying to relate it a little bit more to something we all use every day. So I'll use kind of the Ford analogy and Apple analogy going through this. But think about what Ford's challenges might be. Think about what Apple's challenges may be. How can they come together to get access to more customers, make it a better experience? So I need to understand the challenges of both of those organizations. Together, then I start to develop joint messaging around that and develop a pitch. And that really is focused on making sure that we're identifying the biggest advantage we have as a joint conversation. And that's really what's unique about technology alliances marketing, is that I'm not just focused on what Tanium can do. Just as if you were working for Ford in that instance, you're not just focused on Ford. There are a lot of product marketing managers that focus only on what a Ford Explorer can do, or what an F-150 can do. If you're somebody who wants to go up skiing and four-wheel drive, do a lot of four-wheel driving up in the mountains, you may have a different need for that F-150 or Ford Explorer than somebody who just wants to have a cool vehicle to go to their kids' sports games on the weekends. So you've got to understand your customer. And so developing that pitch is absolutely critical. That's where we really land the message map. Once you identify that, then what we want to do is really take those and develop plays out of those, go to market conversations. So how do you help your sales organization have a conversation with a customer? And you might want, as I was explaining, if you pull the two technologies together for Apple and Ford, you may say, look, somebody is really interested in the entertainment factor of that vehicle. And that's something that's really important. There may be a whole business organization though. So thinking about the two personas, a persona might be a business person, a business organization who wants to make sure that, when their employees are in those vehicles, they have a hands-free experience, a true hands-free experience that they can get access to all their text messages. It's going to be over voice, right? So they've got that. Somebody else may just say, look, I want to make sure that when my kids get in the car, they can play their playlist through that interface very easily. So again, understanding who you're marketing to and helping your sales organization understand that, look, if you're going to have a conversation with person A, the conversation needs to go like this. If you're going to have a conversation like person B, you need to change that conversation a little bit. So again, we'll take the value and the capabilities of both of those two technologies, put them together so that both our sales teams can have a conversation that makes sense. Now, like any of us, whether you're looking at cars, you're looking at a mobile phone, you're looking at anything, we want proof that these things work. And I don't, like many of you, I don't necessarily want to be the first person doing this and hoping it's going to work. So I spent a lot of time working with our customers to say, look, if you think it works and it's working really well for you, will you share that with other peers of yours, with other potential customers? So I get them to come on webinars just like this here. And instead of me talking, I talk to a customer and have them explain what it is, why it is that they're getting more value out of this joint solution. So it would be someone such as, if Leslie was really excited about the fact that she now has essentially all the capabilities of her mobile phone integrated into the dash of her car. I want her to tell others about that and how excited she is about that. That nobody wants to hear it from the factory person because we all think it's great. But getting customers out there, that's the proof. And having metrics around that, the benefit statements like, hey, I can do this faster, or I can do it 3 times, better. It makes my life easier in this way. Getting them to share those bullet points is really, it's super, super important when you get into these types of marketing roles. So, and then we have people such as analysts. Analysts, for any of you that consider going into marketing and into the technology area, especially in technology, you'll hear names such as Gartner, Forrester, IDC, ESG. These are all folks that spend their day talking with our customers, putting together research reports and helping potential customers or future customers understand why this may be, what they should be looking for. So that's also what we call sort of that voice of the industry. So it's really important that we work closely with these research organizations to make sure they understand our capabilities, our technology, our partnerships, and the value that customers can get from this. So that when they're talking with potential customers or customers, that they actually have a good basis for that conversation. So once you have your messaging, once you start to you develop your conversations for your sales team, once you get some good proof points, because you don't want to just go out there without proof points. So we spend a lot of time making sure those are ready to go as well. Then we're ready to execute a full-blown plan. And so building that action plan is absolutely key. And that's something that happens across an entire marketing organization. And as I said, I effectively act as a CMO because I am focused on every function in marketing to make sure that we're working together to get this out the door. And so I'll show you what that looks like on a day-to-day basis. There are a lot of marketing frameworks, a lot of different ways you can put one of these together. But really, this is what I do. And as you can see here, it's what we just talked about. So you have to start with that top line messaging, industry category. And this may start with, you look at what Tanium builds itself as the world-class platform for autonomous endpoint management. If you go look at ServiceNow right now, amazing company, by the way, for anybody considering a career. I actually worked at ServiceNow back in my day. Incredible company, and they are the workflow platform. They're the new AI platform as well. So the goal is to tie these two together, as I talked about, and then we lay it into the sales conversation. Underneath that, we start to build out plays. So again, we may say, hey, we want to have a competitive takeout play. And those are different than the conversation. So within a conversation, we get a multiple plays. So maybe we want to do a takeout. Maybe we want to go after some new industry and things like that. So this is what it looks like. And underneath that, this is where sort of, as I said, the CMO role comes in for me, because although there's individual marketing roles within each of those sections at the bottom here, you've got regional marketing, PR, AR, all those different functional areas. I have to make sure that for a launch, for my joint product and solution, that all of those are working together to execute a plan. And once we get that plan, we then push it out the door. We start to measure the return on it, and then we adapt as things are working, or we identify things that aren't working. Now, what's great about that in my role, as I said, I get to work across all these different functional areas. So I don't just sit there and work on AR all day. I don't just sit there and work on social. I don't just go to events. I get to work across all of it. So it's a very big plan. It's really a fun opportunity in that regard. Now, what makes it even more fun is that I do this times two. So as I mentioned, I have counterparts who are only focused on Tanium. They essentially execute that entire thing on your left there, really just for a Tanium solution. That's not what I do. I have an enormous number of counterparts on the ServiceNow side, which is my partner, my largest partner. And we have to pull these functions together. And so when we submit a press release, it's a joint press release. When we go to an event, we try and go there together because it validates the partnership. It validates to a customer that this is real. Imagine if it was just Ford giving this presentation to somebody and saying, yeah, we integrated Apple into this. It works really well. But if you have Ford plus an Apple representative speaker, right, at an event or on a webinar, both together saying, this is why we did it. This is why it's important. As a customer, as a consumer, you're now sitting there saying, these two are tightly integrated, right? They're tightly partnered. This is gonna go in good places. And when it does go in good places, when you do have success, this is what it can look like. So this is, as I said, I make sure we have a website that's fully branded and co-branded with ServiceNow. I get to work on videos. So I get to work on all our videos, our solution videos. We call them sizzle videos. Those are the cool ones that, they're 90 seconds to 3 minutes. That really just give somebody a quick overview of how cool the product together is. We have infographics. So I get to work with creative agencies that do hard infographics like that. But I get to work with directors and producers to do videos. We have ebooks, case studies, all of that. So in a role like mine, I'm what's considered more of a horizontal across our entire marketing organization. And that's what's really cool. If you want to see more of this, I did provide the URL there on the left. If you want to go look at this in real time, we actually have a launch that you'll see something called integrated risk management. It's the third solution we just launched. It's going live tonight, as a matter of fact. So I just flew in from Dallas early this morning. That was part of our launch effort. So it's fun though. That's what makes things exciting. Now, how did I get here? So I know I don't want to keep everybody from their dinner for too long, but I did want to share how did I get here? Um, Quick point for everybody on the call here. So I get phone calls all the time, and it's great in one regard, but it's always the same question from new graduates. They'll say, "I want to get in marketing," and I always chuckle. So, where do you want to go in marketing? What do you want to do? And the reason I say that is because there's a lot of factors to that in reality, and I'll share a little bit of my history here. The first thing you got to think about is, what do you enjoy? Do you enjoy business to consumer? What would that be? That would be like a Verizon Wireless. Yes, they have some business to business stuff, but I started out early when it was something actually called different than Verizon, but it became Verizon. That's really about selling consumer business, the business Verizon to consumers, and then you've got companies such as Adobe, B2B and B2C for both. Sorry, B2B is what I did. It was an enterprise functional area that I was in. And it was great. So in both of those instances, I got to work for Verizon. I got to do a national TV commercial. We were the first ones to launch a digital ad. I got to work with kid actors. I got to work with producers, directors. And we launched that was the first time I ever got to launch a national ad, working with talent, working with all of it. So pretty exciting. At Adobe, again, a brand that everybody knows, I got to sell into a lot of different industries and market a lot of different products there as well. And then there's ultimately B2B to C. Now, you can think about what that might be when it comes to Apple. So that is really Apple's marketplace. So if you think about it, yes, Apple can be a B2C, could potentially be B2B. A lot of these companies have both, but I spent my time really doing B2C first. And what's interesting about that too, I'll just call out one thing. When we were doing a national ad campaign, or I had to do visual merchandising for 52 direct stores and 300 agent stores across California. When it was a Father's Day ad, or we had to have Father's Day merchandising, you didn't get to miss a deadline. So that was very different than when I got to the B2B business to business world. Yeah, you have deadlines, but when it says Father's Day on visual merchandising, it has to be put up in a store. You don't get to miss that deadline because there's only one Father's Day. So it was unique. It's an aspect that you have to keep in mind when you're doing consumer-based marketing like that. And then, as I said, Apple with the B2B to C, business to business. So you have organizations actually building applications. So the business building the application, working with Apple to sell it or register it and get it certified on Apple Store. Then Apple sells it to the consumer, right? Or makes it available to the consumer. So that's more of a B2B to C play. So think about, what might interest you as you go forward. That was a little bit about my journey. The other thing, as I said, people come to me and say, I want to be in marketing. So what interests you? What industry? Think about the industry. And for me, I've spent a lot of my time in high tech. I also spent a little bit of time in healthcare. And I do say a little bit. That was a foray that I did not have any experience in per se. But it was for a high-tech healthcare company. And what was interesting about that is I started that role 1 week before the pandemic hit. And that was a very interesting time in my career, just to say the least. But think about it. Do you like being face to face with customers all day long? Maybe retail is a great direction to go. But again, this is something that I help coach a lot of folks when they come out of, they're new graduates and they want to talk about being in marketing, getting some focus areas going around what industry, what type of marketing would you be interested in? Because the other factor then, so you've got, B2B, B2C, B2B to B2C. You've got your industry to consider. Again, as I mentioned, I chose high tech. I got really interested in. I was always a bit of a techie. I had one of the first Apple computers, a Macintosh. I loved Adobe as a product. I couldn't wait to get there and get my hands on Photoshop. It was incredible. So I was in my element working for those companies. And Then the biggest question is, and this is the hard one, which is what functional area of marketing might you be interested in? This is, as I mentioned, I was having this very conversation with my daughter, and she's a recent graduate. And so, you know, do you want to be in advertising? Digital advertising is always interesting as well. Do you want to be in events marketing? You get to travel a whole bunch when you do events. I get to travel a whole bunch in my role because I have a global role. So I'm all over the world, Australia, Europe, everywhere. It's a lot of fun. It can be a lot of work. It's a lot of time on the road as well. So think about that. Most important here is I would say take advantage of all of it. Don't feel that you need to be pigeonholed in any one of these. And so as you move forward, take advantage of this as much as you can. But think about early on what might interest you. Talk to folks, ask them about it. And that really, I think, leads into, kind of the takeaways here, because I want to leave some time for some questions. But, one thing here that I haven't even talked about, and I put it as the very top one, is don't be afraid to carry a bag. So what does that really mean? That's sales for everybody on the call. That's a term you'll hear in sales if you're thinking about a sales role. And I say that because as a marketer, one of the most important things you can do is have a stint in sales. Understand what it means to sell something, because understanding what it means to sell something and really have to hit a number at the end of the day is a great experience to have. And then taking that potentially into marketing brings a lot of credibility. Just trust me on this. When sales comes to marketing and says, you don't understand, or you're not giving us what we need. When you can say, no, I know exactly what you mean. I carried a bag. It can go a long way. The other thing is, get broad experience. This is what I was mentioning, not necessarily getting pigeonholed. I just mentioned a few things that I did early on. I got involved early on in more of the print side and creative side of the business. I ran a whole creative services department. And I ultimately ended up moving into product marketing, and then ultimately into partner, and ultimately into tech alliances marketing, which I've enjoyed a whole bunch, a lot. So that's great. Best of all, if you can find a great mentor, I know we've got a mentor program here within UCSB. That's great. So it helped me early on. I really had an opportunity to have a great mentor, and she was fantastic and really helped me really get to, get a good early start, and hopefully help me get to where I am now. So finally, have a personal plan, really for not just your career, but also, your own personal stuff, because it really, having a plan is important, but also be prepared to adapt to changes, right? There is no plan that necessarily says it's going to work out perfectly. So be okay with the fact that you may have to adapt it, and it's fine. Something may come along, an opportunity where someone says, hey, I think you'd be really great at this. Don't be afraid to give it a try. It might not be in your plan today, but you might find out that it really is the right thing and the right next step for you. And this last one is super important. Work out to get better. And most of you are probably wondering, what do I mean by that? I got the opportunity to work for a really great CEO at ServiceNow. His name was John Donahoe. And he ultimately left ServiceNow because he was on the board at Nike, and Nike wanted a new CEO there. He left ServiceNow to go become the CEO of Nike, and he actually just left there middle of last year, more or less retired, I think. But he sat in a meeting with us in the marketing group one day when I was at ServiceNow, and he said, all of you, if you want to get better at soccer, you want to get better at basketball, you want to get better, whatever sport it is, you name it. Like, do you just wake up in the morning and hope you're better? So he said, continue to learn, continue to build your muscle in the functional area you want to be great at. Don't stop. Read books, talk to mentors, learn. And he said, it's up to you to continue to work out to build your muscle. He's like, if you, again, it was just so great the way he said it, because think about that today. Anything that you want to do, it won't just happen if you just go to sleep and wake up. You have to treat it the same way you treat it if you want to get better in soccer, want to be the best in soccer. You would work out 5 days a week. You would think about what books to read, how to get more coaching. All of that applies to your career. So I will leave you with that. Most importantly, in case anybody is doubting, if I was at ServiceNow, Yes, I was. There I am on the left, and that is actually my daughter and I. She is as I just mentioned, she's a recent graduate last year. That was me with her. So look forward to seeing all of your pictures soon. And that was it. So with that, Ron, Megan, I'll turn it back over to you. See if there are any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Mike? So, Mike, I have a question. When you
Yeah.
started your career, did you envision or have any idea that you would end up in your current position? Or did you even know the
No.
current position existed?
No, and no, I did not. So way back, it's we only have so much time, right? So I didn't want to. I didn't go back all the way. At the very beginning, I actually worked at an ad agency. I wanted to be at one of the biggest ad agencies that I could be with, and it was a company called, or a large ad agency called McCann Erickson. And no joke, guys, I started there as the receptionist. That was the job. It was 2 weeks as a receptionist, and then they moved me up to a coordinator position. So I wanted to be in advertising, but again, as I said, I had that was my plan at the time. And I got in, and it wasn't quite what I really thought it was going to be. There was something called kind of the client side, which is the company that you're actually working for as an ad agency. And I quickly realized, there's some advantages to being on the client side. They're the ones that they get to hire and fire agencies. They get to make the calls. So there were some things about that was interesting to me. So I made a leap over there. So there are a lot of things like that, that you have to adapt to, and you might find something different. And so along the way, and that's really, as I said, I kind of had a plan to get into marketing and obviously advertising. But ultimately, I found a lot of different steps, and now I found this Tech Alliance function that I have enjoyed for quite a while in partner marketing, because at the end of the day, too, I get to work with different partners, and that also keeps it interesting because I'm not just working with our company. I get to go and meet with a lot of people at different organizations, and it's that keeps it exciting.
Excellent. We have one question. What did you do at UCSB that supported your career path? And what do you wish you had done? Clubs or classes that would have been helpful?
So I actually worked with a couple different professors on a couple different research projects, and one of them, a few of them were actually in. They had to do with advertising. One of them had to do with messages being sent to children in children's advertising, and so absolutely, if you have an opportunity, I don't know what it looks like today, but if you have the opportunity to work on research projects with professors, absolutely do it. It's valuable in many ways. It's not about just doing it. It really helps you think different. Think about communications. Think about how marketing is really working to different audiences. I took that away. I was absolutely incredible to have that opportunity. I was on multiple projects and things like that within the department. So super exciting if you get the opportunity to do that. Absolutely. And I think there was a second part of the question. What was the other part?
What do you wish you had done that would have been helpful?
Um, well, I actually let me touch on this other thing too. Obviously, internships are super important. I actually took advantage of doing an internship my senior year for Santa Barbara Bank and Trust marketing department. So again, I did that. You know, I don't know if there's I actually, I think I did the hit list. I had the internship. I worked on stuff like that. Um, so I had a good time. I enjoyed everything I did. Right now, I can't think back to anything that I feel like I missed out on, but it was, ultimately it was a great experience. And, I was able with those two things. And the reason I really am stressing this, both of those are immediate things that you have on your resume coming out of school. And as a hiring manager today, it just the competition, it's tough. And so, having that experience that you can actually touch on and relate to a potential job opportunity, I think is really important.
Oh, we have another question. What would you say is the best way to find internships or get work experience?
Yeah, so I don't know what year all the folks on the call right now are, but Most companies, I'll speak, most of them do this with absolutely within the tech industry. They hire in the fall for, interns for summer. However, most of them do. However, there are also opportunities that you can find. So, absolutely identify companies that you're targeting. And this is these are the things I stress to folks that call me too. I said, what companies are you targeting? Go make your top 10. Go read about them. What interests you? Someone once told me, if you're going to buy stock, would you buy stock in Apple if you didn't see a long line in their store? Go look at the store. Go look at, are people interested? You don't want to invest in something that isn't looking that exciting to people. So find out something that interests you and then go to their website. Most of them have, they call them either EICs, early in career pages, or internship pages. Apply. And otherwise, as I think Ron said earlier too, and I know he mentioned to me earlier that he uses some of this in his course about networking, use your network. Many of you are starting to connect to me on LinkedIn. Absolutely critical. So use your network. Feel free to reach out. And if, most of them will do internships typically junior year, but they're also available to seniors and even postgraduates in today's world. So absolutely use your network. What else?
Mike, when you throughout your career, I'm sure you've had mentors along the way. What have you looked for in a mentor, and has it changed depending upon where you're at in your career?
Yeah, as for a mentor, it's great if you can find one, and it's great when you can find a really good one. Y- you know, it's hard to say how to find one. What it comes down to, though, is it's someone who's really willing to give you that time and understand that, sort of take you under their wing. And I don't know that I have a good formula for how to find one. Um, but you know it when you do find a good one. And um, you're looking for that person who actually is investing in you. And I think, ultimately when you see that, when they're willing to spend that time and they're helping educate you and provide that knowledge and say, hey, let's connect again. I'll give you an example right now. I actually am helping a recent graduate, fall graduate, actually. A friend of a friend reached out to me, said, hey, so and so is looking. And there, I told you a story pretty much because I also was thinking of her. She came to me saying, I'm interested in marketing. I say, that's great. Marketing is tough right now. A lot of companies are still limited in sort of their marketing roles, but would you consider anything in sales? There's something called the sales development rep role and a BDR, business development rep role. These are the most entry level sales role in most tech organizations. And they usually are, the only thing is many of them are, hosted in or based in, Dallas or maybe North Carolina or Florida, somewhere like that. But the thing is, my point on that is, I said, hey, I'm going to help you get in here. I'm going to help you along the way. I introduced her to the right people. They talked to her. I followed up with her again, said, how'd it go? What questions do you have? She said, hey, I've got an interview with the next person on Thursday. Okay, great. What questions? You talked to the first person. Let's talk again. We talked again. She's now meeting with somebody on Friday. Okay, great. What questions do you have? So I'm making the time to invest in her. And, if all goes well, I look forward to continuing to make time to, help educate her. Right. And hopefully that's what all of you should be looking for. And again, when you see it, hopefully you'll know it. They'll spend time with you.
Any other questions?
And like, I just wanted to say thank you for presenting. We all really appreciate it. And my question I wanted to ask was, what would you say was like the most meaningful part of your journey, like just in the career of marketing and just overall?
So I could say a couple things to this. One is you're likely going to fail at some point. What that looks like, I don't know. But the most rewarding thing, again, I will say that failure can be a big gift. Getting critical feedback, so it may be in the form of just getting critical feedback. Um, it's hard, right? Being successful, getting to, those top level positions, it takes a lot of work. You're going to have missteps. And instead of looking and taking critical feedback or taking and looking at it as a failure, look at it as a gift. And this is something, again, I'm sharing this because it's something, again, that came from John Donahoe one day. And he said, take this as it's a gift. And it wasn't him giving me this feedback, as I didn't report to him, but he was sharing this story about, one of his senior leaders at the time. And he said, look, take critical feedback. It's a gift. They're sharing with you where you can improve. We talked about working out, right? They're identifying. Critical feedback helps you identify a muscle that you may need to work on. So that part is absolutely critical. I can share all the successes, and of course those are fun, but in reality, what makes you get to the bigger roles, the bigger positions, is building up those muscles that are not functioning as well as you want them to be. So when you get critical feedback, no matter where it is in your life, look at it as a gift. Say thank you, and then go and figure out what your workout plan is going to be successful in that. The same way, if someone said, look, you're not running as fast as you can be on the soccer team, you're not dribbling as well as you could, your passes aren't accurate, you're not going to just take that, right? You're going to go work harder. You're going to go work on your passing drills. Apply the same thing to your career. And ultimately, trust me, when you get all of those muscles working well together, you'll find your success.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question.
I had a question. I was wondering about what the future of marketing would look like with the recent developments in AI and artificial, like just technology like that. Um, my dad worked in technology at Oracle, and he tries to reassure me that everything is going to be fine, and this has happened throughout history. But I've noticed that some people who I've talked with are already looking to find marketing solutions in AI, and I just want to know like what you would think is like the outlook for that.
Absolutely. And by the way, I spent 6 years at Oracle, so that's awesome. Maybe your dad and I ran across each other. Um, so it's awesome. AI is awesome. And no, it's not going to, is it going to help us, help all marketers? Absolutely. Could one of you go build a marketing platform that's more AI based? Absolutely. So think about it. What it means in the short term, I was just on an hour-long call today getting a long presentation about AI from somebody. And the reality of it is, AI is a tool for all of us marketers right now. It's actually, what I would say is, it's allowing me to do some parts of my job faster, but it will never take away. So, by the way, my son is in, this is an example I can use. Whether it's a message map or you're writing a letter to introduce yourself to a potential internship coming up, right? You're marketing yourself. So think about you're marketing yourself. AI can generate the template for you. And yes, of course, your generation's going to have to figure out how to write really great prompts. And we do that now. But when you get that back, if you don't understand what it means to write a compelling letter, AI is not going to do that for you. And the example I use is, my son he's a big sailor. He's sailed competitively. He's actually done some stuff with SailGP. He just sailed across to Hawaii with me in the Pacific Cup. Yet he just generated a cover letter for an internship, and it was basically just, hey, I would like to introduce myself for this for any potential internships that you have. And I looked at it and I said, nothing about you is personal in here, right? So the point I had to coach him on is, AI is great. It'll give you a head start. It'll give you somewhere to start, but you have to understand what a great story is, right? You'll see on my LinkedIn, I call myself the chief story maker, right? Chief storyteller. As a marketing person, your ultimate job, no matter where you are, you have to be able to tell a story. And that comes from, that is what is, AI is still not going to be able to do all that for you. And you've got to recognize when it's not doing that for you. And that's where, I think that it's going to take a lot more time before you can do that. So, yes, it's a great tool. It's not taking over all of our jobs, but absolutely, it's a huge efficiency gain for many of us, and allows me to get more done each and every day.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions? Well,
And by the way, sorry on that other one too. Just a couple minutes here. Think about this too. So we looked at all those functional areas. I'll just go back up here. So if you're in corporate events, there's not a lot that AI can do when you're setting up an event at a site somewhere, right? Or if you're in field marketing, yeah, maybe maybe it can help you write the abstract, but there's so many hands-on activities that you're going to have to do. So some of these things, as you look through here and think about functional areas, there's only some things that can help. Others, some areas that can help a whole lot. But some of these things, like they're hands-on activities that AI just can't touch. So think about that as well.
that's
All
great.
right.
Thank you so much, Mike. And I just want to say for the students that did attend tonight, I think you're already doing something that will set you ahead in your future career. Taking the time out of your day to attend these things, even if this doesn't end up being the career you go into, will broaden your understanding of what is out there. And that is always going to be valuable. So I encourage you to attend our future events. And this will also be recorded and placed onto the department's YouTube page. These are all of our social accounts. If you haven't followed them, I encourage you to follow them so that you're up to date on events such as this virtual career series, along with our other events coming up in the spring. So with that, everyone have a wonderful night and thank you.